Is solar turning into one of the world's biggest scams? As energy bills around the world continue to rise, making use of solar energy to reduce those costs is a logical option. And in many cases, it's a fantastic idea. And where there are good ideas, there's money to be made. But where there's money to be made, sadly, not everyone has good intentions. That's why in this video, I'm going to reveal some of the cold-faced scams that are plaguing the industry of late. So if you're thinking about getting solar, don't do it until you've watched this video. Yesterday, this ad popped up on my Instagram feed, and it's fair to say it got my attention.
Oh there, it's Big John here. Bosh, ask me this. Why doesn't every home in the UK have brand new solar panels? The number one reason is not about weather, sunlight, or even politics. It's actually because most people don't know they can get brand new solar panels from this new UK solar programme. Click the link below to enter your postcode and see if you qualify. Solar power. Bosh!
In case you don't know who we are, I'm Jordan and I run an electrical company based in the UK called Artisan Electrics. Now, about 2 years ago, we started to move away from working in more generic domestic electrics and specialised in installing renewable energy systems. And we have a lot of experience in installing solar arrays with battery storage systems and lots of different products and components associated with these types of installs. And we've noticed a huge uptake in solar over these last couple of years. We receive tons of inquiries every week from people who want to get solar installed. It definitely is a hot topic because homeowners see the potential for reducing energy bills in this current energy climate. Now, we pride ourselves on providing 5-star customer service to anyone we work for, but sadly it's becoming ever clearer that this is not the case for so many who work in the solar industry. I get emails pretty much every week from people who've been let down by their solar installer. Either they've gone bust or they've not issued the correct certification and warranties. I've had people contact me asking for help because their installer just couldn't be bothered to finish the job off and the customer's left with a half-complete job. Whatever the case, there seems to be tons of poor quality solar installs being bashed out, and alarmingly, it's just getting worse and worse. Take this case, for example. I got an email from somebody who said that their install was never finished off, so they had to get another company in to finish off the install. Now, the reason it wasn't finished off was because the first company went bust halfway through the installation. Fortunately, the client was able to find somebody to take over the install, and that company finished the install, but then they went bust and they hadn't issued an MCS certificate. Now, this client came to us asking if we could provide an MCS certificate or at least inspect the system to make sure that it was safe. And my heart really went out to that client. But that's not the only person that we've heard from. We've heard from so many different people in a very similar situation. Either the company having gone bust halfway through the install or just afterwards and not receiving a certificate, or they have received a certificate but they're just not really comfortable with the quality of the installation. There are alarm bells ringing with certain things that they've seen that have happened as part of the install, and they're left in a very uncomfortable position. But this is not an isolated case by any means. There are so many more that I could talk about, but this would end up being an hour-long video. I won't do that to you, but if you do appreciate this content and want to see more, please hit the subscribe button, as it does help us as a team to know that you are enjoying this content and would like to see more. Now, let's get back to the theme of this video. If you are considering getting solar, you really do need to pay attention to this part. One of the most important steps in getting a solar system installed happens right at the start of the process, during the quoting phase of the project. Your installer needs to ask you lots of questions. The reason for this is that we as installers want to create a system that works for you as the customer and that fits your needs perfectly. And no two customers are the same. Now, these questions can happen over emails, calls, or even face-to-face conversations on site visits. But this type of communication is crucial to you getting the right system for your situation. Now, you might be thinking, well, yes, Jordan, I know all that. It's pretty obvious. Well, bear with me, there's a reason I'm telling you all of this now, and it's because lately I've been seeing a lot of, shall we say, suspicious videos online telling me I need to get solar installed. Now, these videos make some bold claims. They promise me huge yields, low cost installations, fast payback times, yada yada yada. These videos are popping up everywhere. They're all over my Instagram feed, my TikTok suggestions. They're playing as unskippable ads on YouTube. I can't get away from these videos. Social media algorithms now are so good. They know who I am, what I do for work, the kinds of videos I'm watching, so they see that I am interested in solar, the same as you are as a viewer of this video, and that means I'm getting peppered with all of these ads. No doubt you've seen them too, or if you haven't, you probably will do soon. First things first, this is your warning, do not use these companies. You probably saw through the scam anyway, but let me break it down to you how these companies work. The companies that are placing these ads are what we call lead generation companies. And simply put, what they do is give you an ad that draws you in. They gather your personal data, your name, phone number, email address, as much contact information as they can, and then what they do is they sell it to somebody else to contact you and give you a quote. They are not solar companies, they are marketing companies, and their sole aim in placing these ads is to get your data and sell it to somebody else. Now, the interesting thing is, because I am a solar installer, or my company is, I get the other side of it, where lead gen companies are constantly approaching me, making all sorts of wild claims about how many pre-qualified leads they can get and send to me every week for a small fee. And what they're doing is they're taking you, getting your data, pairing it with me, and making me pay for your information. But how many other companies are they making pay for that same information? And how many rogue installers are they selling your personal information to? The knock-on effect of all of this is that sadly other people end up suffering. First of all, you as a customer will suffer. If you end up using these companies, you will not get a good level of service, I can guarantee it. And that is because the installers that are buying leads from these lead generation companies need to do so because they aren't getting in enough work themselves. Sometimes work is scarce, of course, that is just a fact of life, but if a company can't generate leads and work for themselves based off their own high standard of work and the good reputation that they have, this inevitably sends alarm bells. Now, slight disclaimer here, I'm not saying that all companies who need to advertise to get leads in are cowboys. Of course, companies need to advertise to get work in. That's a normal fact of running a business. We're very fortunate in that many of our leads come to us from YouTube, so we don't really need to do much paid advertising. The issue I've got though is with these particular Instagram, TikTok, scammy, spammy type ads that just come across really unprofessional. If you dig in deeper and you see the way that they're advertising, it's not the kind of advert that gives any kind of credit to a decent quality installer. And the claims that they're making are just really ridiculous. So if I was looking for a good installer, I certainly wouldn't be going to them through these kind of lead generation ads. These companies are all about volume. They want to turn over as many jobs as possible in as little time as possible to maximize profits. As the old adage says, there are three things to a tradesman. They can be good and cheap, but they won't be fast. They can be good and fast, but they won't be cheap. Or, in the case of many of these companies, they can be cheap and fast, but they won't be good. Now, one of the things that frustrates me the most at the moment in this industry is what we call the race to the bottom. And it is this. Customers are obviously price conscious at times, but what they don't always see is the difference between a cheap quote from a cowboy installer and a more expensive quote from an installer who really cares and wants to do a great job. So we are pitted against the cowboys, and sometimes the customer only sees the price. That's where we've got to stand out as installers to show why we're different, why what we're offering is better quality, will last longer, will give a better overall service and a better quality of installation which will pass the test of time. But it is frustrating because for people who are just looking at price, it's often very hard to tell the difference and all they see is the bottom line at the end of the quote. And because so many of these companies don't have a sustainable business model due to the reasons that we've already discussed, many of them simply don't survive. They cease trading, they go bankrupt, and all the installs that they've carried out are left without support, and in some cases without warranty, which means you, the customer, are left with a solar system where, should anything fail or go wrong through no fault of your own, you're going to be left to foot the bill. Another situation I hear a lot about is where the solar installer hasn't issued the correct certification upon completing the job. Now, in the UK, an MCS certificate is required in most situations if you want to be able to get paid to export power to the grid. And if your installer doesn't give you that certificate, guess what? You're not going to be able to get that smart export guarantee, those export payments, which will significantly reduce the return on investment for you, the client. There are also other certificates that don't get talked about so much, electrical and building regulation certificates, both of which need to be issued when a new circuit is installed and when renewable technologies are added to a house. And all of these things, if you don't have them, can cause you problems later on. Solar equipment is not cheap, it is an investment. So this really is an important thing for anyone considering getting solar installed. Please, please make sure you get the right people to do the job. The final thing that I want to talk about is this: insurance. We have recently had a great struggle when it comes to getting credit insurance from our wholesalers. And we found out the reason for this, and it is a very sad reason. The reason is that so many installers have been going bust over the last couple of years that now credit insurers are refusing to offer new insurance policies for new accounts with wholesalers for solar installers. I've heard multiple stories from multiple suppliers that give us our solar products that have said that they've lost hundreds of thousands of pounds from being owed money by solar installers who haven't paid their wholesaler bill. So I can understand, I can see it from the side of the solar wholesalers and from the credit insurers, but the problem is for us, it means it's a real struggle to get a good line of credit if we're applying for a new account with a new wholesaler, and that can make supply chain a really difficult challenge. So beware, not all solar companies are what they seem, especially if you find them through ads like the ones we've shown you in this video. Make sure that the company you're going to use for your solar project is reputable. Do your due diligence beforehand, check their reviews online. Have a look at their previous work on their social media. If they really are a trustworthy, honest company, they won't have anything to hide and they'll showcase their work openly online because they're proud of it. And make sure they have the necessary insurances and will provide you with all the appropriate certificates for the work they've carried out. Only then will you be covered by the manufacturer's warranties for the products you've had installed at your property. And if you're still in any doubt as to who to contact, you'll find all our details below in the description of this video. Please get in touch and we'd be happy to provide you with a bespoke quote for all things solar and battery. If you like this video, you will love this one too, where we helped out an innocent victim that fell prey to another solar scam. I'll see you over on that video now.